Hi, welcome to clickmeproject.com. This video will lead us to the demo of efficient resource mapping framework over networked cloud via iterated local search based request partitioning. The cloud computing is a shared configurable resource or provided as a service over the internet. The resource is combined with the inter-cloud communication or intra-cloud communication leads to networked cloud computing. The infrastructure as a service is addressing the resource mapping problem. The scalability and the complexity of the resource mapping problem are solved by hierarchical framework. In iterated local search, the request partitioning is used to split the user request for cloud service provider in the network. After the request partitioning phase, there is another phase called embedding phase. It is the intra-cloud mapping approach. In embedding phase, allocate the resource to the user is very important. At first, the user must be created. Without user creation, we can't send the request to the cloud broker. After that, the user send the request to the cloud broker. Then the cloud broker partition the request using iterated local search and send it to the cloud service provider. The cloud service provider mapping the resource. The cloud service provider select the appropriate resource and granting permission to the user to access it. The linear programming is used for the resource allocation to the user. Then the user send the data to the resource and retrieve the data from the resource. Cost is also calculated for the available resource. Let us see the demo of efficient resource mapping framework over networked clouds via iterated local search based request partitioning. First of all, we must create a new account for every user. For that, first of all, enter the mail ID. Then the user must enter the name and then enter password. Now press save button. This will saved in the database. Then click back. Enter the mail ID for login. And then enter the name of the user for login. Then enter the password. Then press submit button. This request will send it to the cloud broker. For that, the user must give the details of the requirements. First of all, enter the time. Then enter the size that the user need to send. Now press submit. Now the request is sent to the cloud broker. The cloud broker receives the requirement and send it to the cloud service provider. Now press ILS. There are so many users all send their requirements to the cloud broker. That list is shown in the iterated local search. Then press next. This is request partitioning. Here the position of the user is displayed using the iterated local search. Now press next. This is cloud service provider. The cloud service provider allocate the resource to the user. For that, we have to run resource 1. This is resource 1. Next we are going to run resource 2. This is resource 2. Then in cloud service provider plus press linear programming. Now the allocated resource to the user is resource 1. Now press next. Select the file to send it to the resource, and then enter the 16-byte key for the encryption. And then press encrypt. Now the data is encrypted, and then press send. Now the data is sent to the resource 1. Now the resource 1 receives the data. Now calculate the cost for the allocated resource. The cost for the allocated resource is 100. Now press next. Then the user retrieve the data from the resource. Press browse button and then select the data, and then now the user retrieve the file from the resource. Now press browse and then select the received file. Then enter the 16-bit key. Now press decrypt. Now the data is successfully decrypted. Thank you.